and joining us to discuss this subject further is Anna Adamska-Galant, attorney at law. Hello, madam, and welcome to TVP World.
Good morning. Thank you very much for invitation.
Now, the adoption of this draft law that we just saw in our report marks a significant shift in Poland's defense policy, because by allowing the armed forces to operate independently during peacetime, the government aims to enhance national security and address various threats more swiftly. So my question to you is, what are the main specific scenarios under which the armed forces can be deployed independently in peacetime?
Actually, as you are right, this draft law provides for a possibility to use the armed forces during the peacetime. But actually, the situation that we are facing now is something between, because behind the war we have the war in Ukraine. We have also these kind of hybrid attacks that are being conducted on the border and Polish border with Belarus. So definitely a reaction from Polish side is needed, and clear rules need to be adopted to allow soldiers, to allow police officers, to allow other officers of other forces to use weapons to react on against these threats. The point is always about the details. So there are some concerns. As to the scope of this draft law that has been adopted. So what specific competences when it comes to use of weapons are to be given to the police officers, to soldiers and other officers of other services.
Now, what about, because there is also a justification to the penal code on when it comes to using weapons. Can you tell us more about that, and how is that related to this controversy that we've recently seen about having Polish soldiers arrested for using their weapons after they fired them into the air and the ground at the Polish-Belarusian border?
Actually, currently under the law, soldiers are allowed to use weapon in cases when there is this attempt to cross illegally the border, to violate the Polish border, using the vehicle, using the weapon, and using other dangerous objects. The point is that this is not fully clear what does it mean, this use of other dangerous object, and generally it is not clearly specified in the law in which circumstances soldiers are allowed to use weapon against these kind of attacks. And the draft law provides for a new kind of a counter type to be introduced in the penal code, which would release soldiers and other officers from criminal responsibility in case when they are repelling direct and unlawful attack on the Polish border using these type of weapons that I have just mentioned, or using this type of object, vehicle, fire, weapon, and another dangerous object, in case when it is there is like immediate reaction is required. However, the point is that the counter type has been drafted in a very casuistic way, and when soldiers are on the border, they need to react fast, they need to react in a decisive way, they need to know clearly when they are allowed to use the weapon and when it is forbidden. So there is still this risk that it may lead to kind of abuses on the side of the soldiers or police officers, because generally use of weapon, it should be like the final resort, only when it is proportionate and really necessary to their circumstances.
And like you mentioned, there is a risk involved. So how might this law now affect civil-military relations in Poland?
I'm not sure how it has finally been adopted by the government, but according to these information that are available in the media, generally there is also this provision, point 4 of this additional article, which provides for this counter type for police officers, soldiers, when it comes to use of weapon. And this counter type is very wide, because this point 4 allows to use weapon actually everywhere. It is not only about the moment about this area, the border area, where this risk of aggression from side of the Belarusian side is really high. But this point 4 gives a possibility for the soldiers and police officers to use weapon also actually generally everywhere. And this is kind of, I would say, risky and dangerous to give such a power to soldiers and police officers.
So then, given what you just said, what has to be done? How do we do this in order to have this, well, let's say, balance? On the one hand, that the law would be clear, concise, and like you said, not allow for any abuse, but at the same time, have the soldiers, border guards, police, well, feeling, safe and confident in doing their job?
First of all, it must be clearly specified in the law in which circumstances they are allowed to use weapon. And for example, when we talk about this dangerous object, what does it mean, dangerous object? What circumstances may justify use of weapon? So this is like the first issue, and it should be defined in the law that regulates operation of all these forces and regulates use of weapon as such. And developing or adopting counter types for the criminal offenses, it's like the next step. But first, the clear rules needs to be adopted. And of course, what is absolutely needed, it is like a continuous training of soldiers and other officers to make them understand and make them apply all these rules almost instinctively, because as we have mentioned before, they do not have too much time to consider, to think. They need to react on the border. So it needs to be kind of automatic response already.
So clear rules and comprehensive training. Thank you so much, Anna Adamska-Galant, for providing your expert insights on the matter.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good day.